am here to do my January wrap-up 2017. I read a total of 7 books. I'm gonna talk about all of these in chronological order, so yeah. Let's go! So the first book I read of the year is Remember Me by Sophie Kinsella. I freaking love Sophie Kinsella as an author. I love her chiclets. I mean, I think that's the only thing that she writes. I'm okay with that. I really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Seems pretty accurate. This is about a girl named Alexi Smart. She is 25 years old. She's a working girl. She doesn't really like her life very much, and she hits her head and ends up in the hospital the next day, except it's not the next day. It ends up being 3 years later that she wakes up. It wasn't the accident that she thought that brought her in the hospital. It was actually a car accident. So when she wakes up, her life is perfect. Her body is like toned, her teeth are perfect, she has a gorgeous husband, she has the perfect job, and she's pretty much this whole story finding out how she got there and what kind of person she is, because now she has a new set of friends and she just seems to be a completely different person. There wasn't anything very special about this book in my opinion, which is why it got a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in January was Broken by Megan Hart. I really enjoyed this book. This book is about a girl named Sadie, and she's a psychiatrist. She's a psychiatrist to many patients, but the book mainly focuses on Joe. Now Joe meets up with Sadie the first Friday of every single month, and they have lunch together, and he talks about a sexual experience that he's had with a girl, a different girl, every month. Joe's stories are not told in his perspective, they're told in the point of view of the girl he's with. I found this very interesting because we get to see kind of how Joe makes the girl feel instead of the opposite. Joe is kind of one of those mysterious guys, and I really like mysterious men. I really enjoyed Joe as a person. I really enjoyed Sadie as a person. This book is completely unexpected. It takes a turn whenever you think that there is not gonna take a turn. Broken had me broken. My heart was torn out of my chest after I read this book, and that's why it was so amazing. The third book I read in January was The Book Jumper by Mechthild Glaser, I think. This is a German book. It was translated into English, so this is like my first translated book that I've ever read, which is pretty cool. It was a really good story. I gave it a 4.2 out of 5 stars around. This is about a girl named Amy. She goes from Germany to Scotland with her mother, and they stay at her grandmother's house, and her grandmother tells her that she has to read. And by reading, she doesn't mean regular reading, she means jumping into books. She's a literal book jumper that can jump into stories. Only 2 families in the entire world can do this, and those 2 families have a major rule. You cannot interfere with the plot of the book or the characters, or else you're gonna ruin the whole book worldwide. Soon to find out, there's a thief stealing stuff from the books, and she gets scared. There's suspense, there's adventure, there's romance in the book. I really enjoyed Will as a person. Like, yes, Will, please, more Will. The only reason why it got stars taken away was because it left me confused at the end of the book. I don't like being confused. Number 4, ho, The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. This was an amazing book. Oh my gosh. This book has nice little summer vibes to it. I really enjoyed that. It's about this girl that has her whole summer planned out, and then there's a scandal that happens with her dad that also affects her, and she ends up not being able to undergo those plans that she had for the summer, which was an internship and going away. She has to stay and find something else to do this summer, and it turns out to be probably the best summer of her life. Pretty sure it was the best summer of her life. There's some friendships, there's family relationships, which I personally like the best in this whole book. Some romance. I really enjoyed it. I read The House of Hades, which is the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus series. This is by Rick Riordan. If you haven't read this series, I highly suggest it to any fantasy lovers out there. The 7 demigods have to go and stop the goddess of earth from waking and destroying the whole earth. And in this particular book, if not all, then most of the demigods figured out that they could do stuff that they never thought they can do. And I just found that super interesting. There were a lot of twists and turns in this book, and I love twists and turns. Okay, so the 6th book I read this month, which was, I think this one was my favorite out of all the books. This was Eleanor and Park. It was so good. This is a love story between Eleanor and Park. They are 2 misfits in a school, and they meet on a bus. The rest is history. If you go into this story knowing as little as possible, just know it's a love story, you're gonna be okie dokie. And the last book that I read in the month of January was Happiness for Beginners. This is by Catherine Center. It's about this girl named Helen Carpenter. She went through a lot of crap in her life the past year, so she wants to just change as a person and be happier, and she signed herself up for this hiking adventure. It's a really good book. This got 4 out of 5 stars. I took a star away from the book because I had this weird love-hate relationship with the main character, Helen. I did not like her at times, and I did like her at times. It was a really weird thing. She made some really stupid decisions. She was very mean at some times. Like, I understand the book's called Happiness for Beginners, but dang, do you have to be so mean for no reason? I don't know, but then at sometimes she seemed like really sweet and vulnerable. Speaking of characters, I really enjoyed Jake in this book. Jake is a really cool, laid-back dude. I also really enjoyed Wendy. I really enjoyed Hugh. Thank you guys for watching. Those were my 7 books that I read in the month of January. Stay tuned for a book talk on the newest book that I just read. What books have you been reading? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.